Hey, what's up, fellow model train enthusiasts? This is Lone Wolf 777 broadcasting from his home in California today. Today is a Santa Fe SD75M number 226 Locomotive Project Part 3. As you can see here in the photographs, the Locomotive project is coming along fine. I got tons of work done to the locomotive. The LEDs are wired up, they're done. They are all white LEDs. I don't know if they're bright white, but they're white LEDs. I used Plastruct 1/16 clear rods to make the lenses so that the locomotive at least has more realism to it. I did my best with that. I had to glue the LEDs to the Plastruct and use heat shrink tubing to really keep it together on that, just in case. I put truck lights on the bottom of the locomotive's front cab area. You can see here in the photograph. You can see the headlight light up. Doesn't that look beautiful? Now I know that doesn't look prototypical. It's not realistic looking, but I kind of screwed up a long time ago by installing the ditch lights first with white LEDs and not even checking to check what color of LEDs I got. But at this point, I said to hell with it. I'm going to just install them anyways. I even went to so far as to install PWRS Magdalock air hoses and MU cables. You can see here that the truck lights are being installed. As you can see here, I have one on the engineer side. I have the rear lights installed. So with my eyesight, I said, you know what, for the practicality of my eyesight, I'm going to use these LEDs for this locomotive. I even got a speaker gasket from Soundtracks, as you can see here in the photograph, 35 by 16 millimeter oval speaker. That's the speaker gasket and the speaker itself. Those are the wires that I used. They're not color coded, they're just black wires. When I asked Soundtracks about this particular polarity issue facing the 35 16 millimeter speaker, they said you don't have to worry about positive or negative unless you're doing two speakers at the same time. That's when you got to start worrying about it. So as you can see here, the locomotive is ready to be installed with the speaker. I took the shell off the locomotive frame to basically figure out where I was going to place the speaker, and the best place is in the rear of the locomotive, as always. I was going to place it somewhere else at first, but then I just said, you know what, there's just too many wires and stuff, and there's not a lot of room to play with. So I said I'll put it in the rear of the locomotive, as you can see here in the photographs, as well as the resistors for the LEDs. I even asked, wait, I don't think I asked about the resistors for the speaker. You don't have to use resistors, actually, now I think about it. No, you don't need to use resistors for the speaker. You're fine. You do need a speaker gasket, and you do need the 35 by 16 millimeter speaker, and that's it. Now, for example, you can see that the LEDs are fully lit on the front of the locomotive, the ditch lights, the headlights. I wired the speaker up, as you can see here in the photograph. It's not very hard. It's already tinned for you. I would be very careful of, using so many lengths of wire. You got to know exactly where your wires are going to be placed and how much length you need. This is my soldering tool I used. It's a Yom soldering iron with a stand with a sponge, and then I used the H20 water soluble paste flux and silver bearing rosin core solder. You should really use that. Electrical solder is the best when it's the rosin silver core stuff. You don't want to use anything else. It's just going to turn into crap. But yeah, you can definitely see that the truck lights are lit up too in the photograph area here. Just to show you that the truck lights do work, as well as the ditch lights, the headlights. I had to do a lot of stuff to this locomotive. I still got a long ways to go. It's not even remotely done. You can see that both truck lights are now installed. There's not just one, there's both on each side. I installed a little cab figure, if you can see very closely into that picture there. Sitting in the engineer's seat, and then there's the speaker itself, the 35 by 16 millimeter speaker. Again, you should really make sure that you get a gasket, a speaker gasket, excuse me, that's the same length and size of the speaker itself. This is me testing the LEDs in the rear of the locomotive again. Always make sure you test your LEDs just in case. You don't want anything to happen to them, but make sure when you do test the LEDs, make sure you do the part where you install the 1000 ohm resistors. Hey, what's up, fellow model train enthusiasts? Today we're going to basically solder a 35 by 16 millimeter speaker up to ensure that we have sound in the locomotive. This is for the SD75M project. I'm going to show you this real quick. So basically, you need to make sure that you have a gasket. You can order these from Soundtracks. It's not a big deal. Okay, you order that from them. You get a pack of like 4 or 5 of them in one pack, and then you have to make sure you got an X-Acto knife or some kind of sharp object to peel off this surface. That way you can stick it onto the locomotive's area that you want it to be in. So now we're going to go back to this. Now with this locomotive, I had asked the question to Soundtracks to make sure that I don't have to wire this up for positive and negative, meaning there'd be 2 different colors that I'd have to use, red and black. But in this case, when I talked to them, they said, no, you don't have to worry about that. That's only when you have to wire up 2 of these speakers together. Then you got to worry about polarity, which is, again, positive and negative. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to solder this, and the next, the things you're going to need to use are some flux. Got some flux. Let me show you what kind. Now they always recommend different kinds of flux, but make sure you got the kind that's for electric. I just use this. It makes me feel better, and it's cheap. There's probably even cheaper ones than this, for all I know. But yeah, this is H20 flux. You can use any kind of flux that you want. You need a soldering iron, so you need to solder this stuff. This is where you start to learn how to work with electronics. I have a Yom soldering iron. Okay, it comes in this. Comes with different types of heat needles, so you can change out for each one depending on the work. Comes with some wires and some tweezers and things like that. So this one has the ability to have a selectable heat mode. You can go from all the way up to 842 degrees. Okay. And make sure you have this stand along with this sponge. Okay, make sure you wet it very, very nice and wet with water. Alright, here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now this does come pre-tinned for you already, so you can actually solder these pretty quickly. Okay, so I shortened up the wire a little bit, exposed wise. You want a very good connection, but you don't want it too, you know what, here, let me just, there we go. And ta-da, you got a wire on. Now we got to do another one. Alright, one more time. Now you got to be extremely careful when doing this, okay? It's extremely dangerous because you can burn yourself, you can actually set a fire. I would really recommend that you do this either somewhere in the garage with fireproofing or outside. Uh-oh. Okay. Now your speaker is wired up. That's good. I'm going to touch this up just a little bit. Uh-oh. There we go. You are now wired up and your speaker is ready to go. Now in this case, this is only part 5 or 1, I can't remember which. Make sure that you have a soldering iron that has an on and off switch, and you do that afterwards. You got to clean that off. Clean the needle off. Okay? You don't want that stuff sticking to it. Just like that. Okay? Now once you've done all that, you are good to go. So basically, again, you don't need to worry about polarity with a single speaker like this. It's only when you start wiring it up to another speaker just like this one, you need to start worrying about polarity from like plus and negative polarities, okay? So you're fine for this installation if you're only doing one single speaker, which is good. So now, you can stick the speaker inside of the locomotive like this. See, that's the gasket. We just stick it on like so. And you can make a custom enclosure if you wanted to. Sorry. Excuse me. I'm very sorry for the camera being shaky and all over the place, but I don't have a tripod, and you know, I'm not really in the mood to invest a lot of money into a tripod right now. But anyways, that's how you solder a speaker with wires, and that's how you basically solder anything. Again, make sure you read the instructions. It's very important that you read the instructions on how to wire, and look up a ton of videos if you don't know how to do it on what to get for your soldering iron, things like that. I'll put some of that in the link in the description. That way you all understand what you're doing. All right, Lone Wolf 777 signing off. See you down the rails. Peace out.